The stars were quiet that night when the ships came. Jake Sullivan stood in the control room of the Earth Defense Station, watching the screens that showed empty space. He had been watching the same empty space for 3 years. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever changed. Then the lights appeared. "Sir, we have movement," said the young officer next to him. Her name was Amy Clark, and she had only been working there for 6 months. Her voice was shaking. Jake looked at the screen again. 50. Bright dots were moving toward Earth. They were moving fast. Too fast for any human ship. How long until they reach us? Jake asked. Amy typed on her computer. Her hands were shaking now. 2 hours, sir. Jake picked up his phone and called Admiral Lisa Carter. She answered on the first ring. "Admiral, we have a problem," Jake said. "We have 50 unknown ships heading for Earth." There was silence on the other end. Then Admiral Carter spoke. "Are you sure they're not ours?" "Yes, ma'am. They're moving too fast. And they're coming from deep space." "I'll be right there," Admiral Carter said. Within an hour, the control room was full of people. Admiral Carter stood next to Jake, watching the screens. General Ryan Brooks was there too, along with Dr. Helen Wright and Captain Maria Santos. The alien ships were getting closer. They were huge. Each one was the size of a city. Their design was unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked like giant insects made of metal. "Have they tried to talk to us?" Admiral Carter asked. "No, ma'am," Amy replied. "They're not answering any of our calls." Dr. Wright was studying the ships through her telescope. "The technology is incredible," she said. "These ships are at least 1,000 years ahead of ours." The ships reached Earth's orbit and stopped. They formed a circle around the planet. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Everyone in the control room waited. Then the message came. The screens in the control room changed. Instead of showing space, they showed a creature that looked like a giant lizard. It had 4 arms and red eyes. When it spoke, the words appeared in English at the bottom of the screen. "People of Earth," the creature said. "I am Zethkar, commander of the Korthic Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you do not surrender, we will destroy your cities one by one." The message ended. The screens went back to showing the alien ships. Admiral Carter was quiet for a moment. Then she turned to Ryan Brooks. "General, is Protocol Omega ready?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, ma'am. We've been ready for 2 years." Jake had never heard of Protocol. "Omega. What's Protocol Omega?" he asked. Admiral Carter looked at him. "It's our plan for when this day came. We always knew aliens might come to Earth someday. We've been preparing." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Jake, for the past 5 years, we've been working on something special. We've been studying how to fight enemies that are stronger than us." "But how can we fight them?" Jake asked. "You saw their ships. They're huge. We don't have anything like that." Ryan Brooks smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Jake, sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your enemy think they've already won." Admiral Carter walked to the big screen that showed Earth. The alien ships were still there, waiting like sleeping giants. "These aliens think they know how wars work," she said. "They come to a planet, they show their big ships, and the people surrender. It's worked for them many times before." "How do you know that?" Amy asked. "Because that's what smart hunters do," Dr. Wright answered. "They use fear first, violence second. It saves energy and resources." Admiral Carter turned back to the group. "But they don't know humans. They don't know that we've been fighting each other for thousands of years. They don't know that we've learned how to win fights even when we're weaker." Jake was starting to understand. "You want to let them capture us?" "Some of us," Ryan said. "Volunteers. People who are trained for this. Trained for what? To be prisoners. Maria Santos said. She had been quiet until now. To be captured and taken to their ships, and then to destroy those ships from the inside. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was calm. They had been planning this for years. What about the rest of us? Jake asked. The rest of us wait, Admiral Carter said. We let them think they've won. We let them start taking apart our defenses. And when they're not expecting it, we show them what humans really are. The next morning, the aliens attacked. They didn't destroy cities like they had promised. Instead, they hit military bases. They hit them with weapons that turned metal into dust and made buildings disappear. Jake watched from the defense station as the alien ships moved around Earth like sharks. They were testing human defenses. They were learning how humans fought. At noon, 3 alien ships landed near the biggest military base in North America. Strange creatures came out of the ships. They looked like the one in the message, but smaller. They had weapons that shot blue light. The human soldiers fought back, but their weapons barely hurt the aliens. Within 2 hours, the base was captured. 300 soldiers were taken prisoner, including Ryan Brooks. Jake watched the prisoners being loaded onto the alien ships. Ryan looked calm. He didn't look like a man who had just been defeated. It's working, Admiral Carter said quietly. They think we're weak. That night, more bases fell. More soldiers were captured. The aliens were winning easily, just like they had planned. But Jake noticed something. The soldiers who were being captured were all volunteers. They were all people who had trained for Protocol Omega. They were all people who knew what they were really doing. As the alien ships filled with human prisoners, Jake realized the truth. The hunt had begun, but the aliens didn't know who was really hunting whom. The war for Earth had started, and humanity's greatest strength was about to become the aliens' worst nightmare. The inside of the alien ship was cold and dark. Ryan Brooks sat on the metal floor with his hands tied behind his back. Around him, 200 other human prisoners waited in silence. The aliens had put them in a large room with no windows. Walls were made of some kind of black metal that felt warm to the touch. Strange lights hung from the ceiling, giving everything a green glow. Ryan looked around at the other prisoners. He recognized most of them. Captain Maria Santos sat near. The wall, her pilot uniform torn, but her eyes alert. Sergeant Ben Clark was across the room, studying the ceiling like he was planning something. Dr. Helen Wright was near the door, watching the alien guards. All of them were volunteers. All of them had trained for this moment. The alien guards were tall and thin, with forearms and skin like leather. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. They spoke to each other in clicks and hisses. One of the guards walked over to Ryan. It looked down at him with its red eyes. You are the leader? It asked in broken English. Ryan nodded. I'm General Brooks. Good. You will come with us. 2. Guards pulled Ryan to his feet and pushed him toward the door. As they walked through the ship, Ryan memorized everything he saw. The hallways were narrow and curved. The doors were round and made of the same black metal. He counted the guards he saw and noted where they were stationed. They brought him to a room where Zethkar was waiting. The alien commander was bigger than the others, with scars across his face and arms. He sat behind a desk that looked too small for him. General Brooks, Zethkar said. His English was much better than the guards. Your people fought well, but not well enough. Ryan said nothing. I have conquered 47 worlds, Zethkar continued. Some species fight hard, some surrender quickly, but all of them accept their fate in the end. What do you want? Ryan asked. I want you to tell your leaders to surrender completely. No more fighting, no more resistance. Your people will work for the Empire now. Ryan looked at the alien commander. And if I refuse? Sethkar smiled, showing teeth like knives. Then your people will suffer. We will destroy your cities. We will take your children. We will make your species wish they had never been born. I need to think about it, Ryan said. You have one day, Sethkar replied. The guards took Ryan back to the prison room. When Ryan returned, the other prisoners gathered around him. They spoke in whispers. How many guards did you see? Maria asked. About 50 on this ship, Ryan replied. Maybe more. Ben Clark had been studying the walls. The metal is strong, but it has weak points. See these lines here? They're joints. If we hit them right, we can break through. Dr. Wright had been watching the guards. They're not used to prisoners who don't give up hope. Look at how they stand. They're relaxed. They think we're beaten. Over the next day, the prisoners worked quietly. They shared information about the ship's layout. They identified guard patterns. They found weak points in their prison room. Dr. Wright did something else. She had small devices hidden in her clothes. The aliens had searched them, but they hadn't found everything. The devices were tiny, no bigger than a grain of rice. They contained something special. Before the aliens had come, Dr. Wright had worked with other scientists to create biological weapons. Not weapons to kill, but weapons to weaken. They had studied every bit of alien technology they could find, and they had made educated guesses about alien biology. The tiny devices contained viruses. Viruses designed to affect creatures that weren't human. Dr. Wright had been releasing them into the ship's air system every few hours. Meanwhile, other human prisoners on other ships were doing the same thing. Every captured soldier carried the same devices. Every ship was being infected. The aliens didn't notice at first. The viruses worked slowly. They were designed to look like natural sickness, not like weapons. On the second day, some of the alien guards started feeling sick. They had headaches and trouble seeing clearly. The ship's doctor thought it was just stress from the battle. On the third day, Maria Santos volunteered to clean the prison room. The aliens let her because they thought it would keep the prisoners busy. While she cleaned, she memorized the door controls. She also planted small explosive devices that Ben Clark had made from materials in their prison room. The aliens still didn't suspect anything. In their experience, defeated enemies stayed defeated. They had never met a species that planned to lose the first battle. On the fourth day, things started to change. More alien guards got sick. Some couldn't work at all. The ship's doctor was confused. The sickness was spreading, but it didn't match any disease in their medical records. Dr. Wright watched the sick aliens with satisfaction. The viruses were working exactly as planned. They didn't kill, but they made the aliens weak and slow, perfect for what was coming next. That night, Ryan was taken to see Sethkar again. The alien commander looked tired and irritated. Have you decided? Sethkar asked. Yes, Ryan said. I'll tell my people to surrender. Sethkar nodded, satisfied. Good. You will send the message tomorrow. But Ryan wasn't planning to send any message. Tomorrow, Phase 2 would begin. As the guards took him back to the prison room, Ryan noticed that some of them were moving slowly. Their eyes were red and watery. The viruses were working better than Dr. Wright had hoped. Back in the prison room, Ryan gathered the other prisoners. Tomorrow, he whispered. We take the ship, Maria nodded. She had memorized the door controls. Ben had prepared his explosives. Dr. Wright had released the last of her viruses. Around them, the other prisoners, prepared for battle. They had spent days acting like defeated enemies. They had let the aliens think they were broken and hopeless. Tomorrow, the aliens would learn the truth about humans. Tomorrow, they would discover that sometimes the prey is more dangerous than the hunter. The trap had been set. The aliens had walked right into it. Now it was time to spring it. Ryan looked around at his fellow prisoners. They were tired, hungry, and far from home. But they were ready. They had been ready since the day. They volunteered for this mission. The aliens thought they had won. Tomorrow, they would learn how wrong they were. Major Alex Turner sat in the hidden base on the dark side of Earth's moon. He watched the screens that showed the alien ships floating around Earth like sleeping giants. For 5 days, he had been waiting for the signal. Then it came. A tiny beep. On his radio. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. The old Earth distress signal, but sent in reverse. It meant one thing. The prisoners were ready. Alex picked up his radio and sent the same signal to every hidden base on Earth and in space. Within minutes, the response came back from 30 different locations. All the teams were ready. This is it, Alex said to his crew. Phase 2 starts now. On the alien ships, Ryan Brooks looked at his watch. It was time. He nodded to Maria Santos, who was standing near the prison door. She had been studying the door controls for days. Her fingers moved quickly over the alien buttons. The door opened with a soft hiss. Ben Clark was ready. He placed his homemade explosives against the walls at the exact points he had identified as weak spots. The explosives were small, but they were placed perfectly. Dr. Wright checked her medical bag. She had more surprises for the aliens. Remember, Ryan whispered to the group, we're not trying to escape. We're trying to take control of the ship. The prisoners moved out of their room in small groups. They had practiced this in their minds hundreds of times. Each group had a target: the engine room, the communication center, the bridge, and the weapons control. The first alien guard they met was sick and slow. The virus had been working on him for days. Before he could raise his weapon, 3 humans tackled him. They took his weapon and his communication device. Communications team, go. Ryan whispered into the stolen device. Maria Santos led her team toward the ship's communication center. They moved through the curved hallways like shadows. The few aliens they met were weak from the virus and couldn't fight well. When Maria's team reached the communication center, they found only 2 guards. Both were sitting down, holding their heads. The virus had given them terrible headaches. Sorry about this, Maria said as her team tied up the guards. Then she sat down at the alien communication controls. Maria was a pilot, but she had trained on captured alien technology for 2 years. She knew how their systems worked. Her fingers moved over the controls, and suddenly she was connected to all the other alien ships. Meanwhile, Ben Clark's team had reached the engine room. Ben looked at the alien technology with excitement. He was a demolitions expert, but he was also an engineer. He could see how the alien engines worked. We don't want to blow up the ship, Ben told his team. We want to control it. Ben started disconnecting key systems. Not enough to stop the ship, but enough to make it helpless. Within minutes, the ship couldn't move or fight. Dr. Wright's team went to the medical bay. She wanted to help the sick aliens, but she also wanted to study them. The more she learned about alien biology, the better she could make her weapons. In the medical bay, she found 12 aliens lying on beds. They were all sick from the virus, but none of them were dying. That was exactly what Dr. Wright had planned. Virus is working perfectly, she told her team. It makes them weak, but doesn't kill them. We need them alive. Ryan's team headed for the bridge. This was the most dangerous part. Sithkar would be there, along with his best guards. But when they reached the bridge, they found chaos. Half the alien crew was sick. The other half was trying to figure out why their ship systems weren't working. Zethkar was standing in the center of the bridge, shouting orders in his alien language. When he saw Ryan and the other humans, his red eyes went wide. "Impossible," he said in English. "You were defeated. You surrendered." Ryan smiled. "No, we didn't. We just let you think we did." Zethkar reached for his weapon, but he was too slow. The virus had affected him too. Ryan's team overwhelmed him before he could fight back. "Bridge secure," Ryan said into his communication device. Similar reports came from all over the ship. "Engine room secure. Communication secure. Medical. Base secure." But the best news came from Maria Santos. "General, I'm connected to the other ships. The prisoners on every ship are doing the same thing we're doing. 30 ships are already under human control." Ryan sat down in Zethkar's command chair. Around him, human prisoners were operating alien controls like they had been trained to do, because they had been trained to do exactly this. "How?" Zethkar asked. He was tied up now, but he was staring at Ryan with confusion and fear. "You made a mistake," Ryan explained. "You assumed that because we looked weak, we were weak. You assumed that because you won the first battle, you had won the war. But your technology is primitive," Zethkar said. "Your weapons are useless against us." "Our weapons, yes," Ryan agreed, "but not our minds. We've been planning for this day for years. We knew that aliens might come someday. We knew they would probably be stronger than us. So we planned for how to fight an enemy that was stronger." Dr. Wright's voice came over the communication system. "General, the virus has affected about 70% of the alien crew. They're weak but stable. We can keep them alive, but they won't be able to fight." "What virus?" Zethkar demanded. Ryan looked at the alien commander. Every human prisoner was carrying biological weapons. Tiny devices that released viruses into your ship's air. "We've been poisoning your crew since the day we were captured." Zethkar's face showed an expression that might have been horror. "You infected us on purpose?" "Of course. Did you think we would just sit in that prison room and wait to be rescued? We're not that kind of species." Maria's voice came from the communication center. "General, I have contact with Earth. Admiral Carter wants to talk to you." A few minutes later, Admiral Carter's face appeared on the bridge's main screen. She was smiling. "Good work, General," she said. "How many ships do we control?" 37 and counting, Ryan replied. "The prisoners on the other ships are still working on it." "Excellent. Begin Phase 3. Ryan turned to Ben Clark. "Sergeant, can you fly this ship?" Ben grinned. "I've been studying the controls for an hour. I think I can manage it." "Good. Take US to the nearest alien base. It's time to return the favor." Zethkar struggled against his ropes. "You can't do this. The Empire will send more ships. They'll destroy your world." "Maybe," Ryan said. "But first, we're going to visit some of the worlds you've conquered. We're going to free the people you've enslaved. And we're going to teach them how to fight back." Around the bridge, humans worked at alien controls. The ship's engines came to life. On the main screen, Earth grew smaller as they flew away. For the first time in his life, Zethkar understood what fear felt like. These humans weren't just fighting back. They were turning his own weapons against him. They were using his own ships to attack his own empire. The hunters had become the hunted, and the nightmare was just beginning. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in Earth's main command center, watching dozens of screens that showed the captured alien ships. It had been 1 week since the prisoners had taken control of 37 ships. Now those ships were flying toward alien bases across the galaxy. "Report," Admiral Carter said to Lieutenant Grace Kelly, who was monitoring the communications. "All teams are reporting success, ma'am," Grace replied. "General Brooks has reached the Korthik mining base in the Alpha system. Captain Santos is approaching their prison world in Beta sector. and Commander Nathan Price is heading for their main supply depot. Admiral Carter nodded. Phase 3 was working perfectly. Dr. Kevin Adams walked over from his station. He was a military psychologist, and for the past week he had been questioning the alien prisoners on Earth. "Admiral, I've learned some important things from the Korthak prisoners," he said. "What kind of things?" "Their empire is bigger than we thought. They control over 200 worlds. But they're also weaker than they seem." Dr. Adams pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Korthak-controlled worlds. There were so many red dots that they covered a quarter of the galaxy. "The Korthak Empire is built on fear," Dr. Adams explained. "They conquer a world, take the strongest people as slaves, and leave the rest to work in mines or farms. They don't actually govern these worlds. They just take what they want and leave." "What does that mean for us?" Admiral Carter asked. "It means that most of their subjects hate them. If we can free these worlds, they might join us instead of fighting us." This was exactly what Admiral Carter had hoped to hear. "Show me the communication from General Brooks." Grace Kelly played the recording. Ryan Brooks appeared on the screen, standing on the bridge of his captured alien ship. Behind him, Lieutenant Colonel Danny Foster and several other humans worked at alien controls. "Admiral, we've reached the mining base," Ryan reported. "It's just like Dr. Adams predicted. The Korthak have about 50 guards controlling 3,000 slaves from a dozen different species." "What's your plan?" Admiral Carter asked. "We're going to land and offer the slaves a choice. Join us and fight back, or stay here and keep being slaves." "Be careful, General. We don't know how these other species will react to humans." Ryan smiled. "Don't worry, Ma'am. We have a secret weapon." The secret weapon was Dr. Helen Wright's medical knowledge. Over the past week, she had studied the captured Korthak prisoners and learned how their biology worked. More importantly, she had learned how to make them very sick without killing them. When Ryan's ship landed at the mining base, the Korthak guards came out to meet them. They expected to see their fellow Korthak returning with human prisoners. Instead, they saw humans in Korthak uniforms, carrying Korthak weapons. "Surrender," Ryan announced in the Korthak language. He had been learning it from their prisoners. "Your choice is simple. Give up now, or get very sick and then give up." The Korthak guards tried to fight, but they quickly discovered that their weapons didn't work. Danny Foster's team had spent hours learning how to disable Korthak technology. Within an hour, the mining base was under human control. The guards were locked up, and the slaves were free. But the real surprise came when Ryan met the slaves. They weren't just different species. They were people whose worlds had been conquered by the Korthak years or decades ago. They remembered what freedom was like. A tall, blue-skinned creature named Veltar spoke for the other slaves. "You are humans?" he asked in broken Korthak. "Yes," Ryan replied. "We're here to free you and help you fight back." Veltar looked at the other freed slaves. They talked quietly in their own languages. Then Veltar turned back to Ryan. "The Korthak told us that humans were weak. They said you surrendered without fighting." Ryan laughed. "We let them think that. It was part of our plan." "What plan?" 2. Destroy their empire and free every world they've conquered." The freed slaves looked at each other in amazement. For years, they had believed that the Korthak were too strong to fight. Now humans were telling them that the empire could be defeated. "How?" Veltar asked. Doc Ryan pointed to the captured Korthak ship. "We use their own weapons against them. We take their ships, learn their technology, and turn their strength into our strength." Over the next few days, similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Captain Maria Santos freed a prison world where the Korthak kept their most dangerous political prisoners. Commander Nathan Price captured a supply depot and found ships full of weapons and technology that each victory brought new allies. Each freed world provided more people who wanted to fight back against the Empire. But the most important victory came when Captain Jamie Peterson's team captured a Korthak communication station. This gave humans access to the Empire's entire communication network. "Admiral," Grace Kelly reported excitedly, "we can now listen to everything the Korthak are saying to each other." Admiral Carter smiled. "What are they saying?" "They're panicking. Their leaders are arguing about what to do. Some want to attack Earth with everything they have. Others want to negotiate." Dr. Adams had been listening to the Korthak communications for hours. "Admiral, they're scared. They've never faced an enemy like us before." "What do you mean?" "Most species fight the way the Korthak expect. They either surrender quickly or fight until they're all dead. But we're doing something different. We're not just fighting them. We're turning their own empire against them." Admiral Carter understood. "We're not trying to defeat them in battle. We're trying to make their empire collapse from the inside." "Exactly. And it's working. 3 more worlds declared independence today. They're kicking out the Korthak governors and asking to join our alliance. A Galactic Liberation Alliance. That's what they were calling it now. Humans, plus all the species they had freed from Korthak rule." Admiral Carter looked at the galaxy map again. The red dots were starting to change color. Some were turning blue, showing worlds that had joined the alliance. Others were turning yellow, showing worlds that were in rebellion against the Korthak. "How long do you think it will take?" she asked Dr. Adams. "To defeat the Empire completely? Maybe 6 months, maybe less if more worlds join us." Admiral Carter found that hard to believe. 6 months? The Korthak Empire has lasted for thousands of years. "Yes, but it was built on a lie," Dr. Adams explained. "The lie that they were unbeatable. Once people realize that the Korthak can be defeated, the Empire will fall apart very quickly." A new message came in from General Brooks. His face appeared on the main screen, and he was smiling. "Admiral, you need to see this," he said. "We just received a communication from the Korthak Ruling Council. They want to negotiate." Admiral Carter raised her eyebrows. "Negotiate? What do they want?" "They're offering to leave our solar system alone if we stop attacking their bases." "And what did you tell them?" Ryan's smile got bigger. "I told them we'd think about it. But first, they need to free every slave in their empire and return to their home worlds." "What did they say to that?" "They said we were crazy. They said humans are just one small species and can't possibly defeat their entire empire." Admiral Carter laughed. "They still don't understand, do they?" "No, ma'am. They still think this is about humans versus Korthak. They don't realize that this is about freedom versus slavery. And freedom is winning." The screens around the command center showed the truth of Ryan's words. More worlds were joining the alliance every day. The Korthak Empire was shrinking like ice in the sun. Humanity had shown the galaxy something new. They had shown that any hunter could become prey. Any empire could fall. Any slave could become free. The nightmare was spreading across the galaxy, and the Korthak were finally beginning to understand that they were the ones trapped in it. 6 months after the first alien ships had arrived at Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiance. Through the windows, she could see the last Korthak stronghold, a massive space station orbiting their home world. The station was the size of a small moon. It had been the center of the Korthak Empire for over 2,000 years. Now it was surrounded by ships from the Galactic Liberation Alliance. There were human ships, of course, but there were also ships from the Veltari, the Zefkal, the Mordon, and dozens of other species that had been freed from Korthak rule. The fleet was so large that it blocked out the stars. "Admiral," said Captain Sam Mitchell, who was standing next to her, "we're receiving a message from the station." "Put it on screen." The main screen showed the interior of what looked like a grand throne room. 12 Korthic leaders sat around a circular table. At the head of the table sat an ancient Korthic with white scars covering his face. "I am High Commander Kreshtak," the old alien said. "I speak for the Korthic ruling council." "I'm Admiral Carter," Lisa replied. "I speak for the Galactic Liberation Alliance. We wish to negotiate a peace treaty." Admiral Carter looked around the bridge. Her crew was a mix of humans and aliens, working together. Lieutenant Grace Kelly was at the communication station. Dr. Kevin Adams was monitoring alien psychology readings. Captain Jamie Peterson was at the weapons controls. "What kind of peace treaty?" Admiral Carter asked. "We will withdraw from the outer systems," Kreshtak said. "We will keep only our core worlds. In return, you will stop your attacks on our remaining bases." Admiral Carter shook her head. "That's not good enough." "What do you want?" "Complete surrender. Freedom for every remaining slave in your empire. War crimes trials for your leaders. And reparations for all the worlds you've destroyed." The Korthic leaders started talking, angrily among themselves in their own language. Dr. Adams was listening through the translation system. "They're arguing," he told Admiral Carter quietly. "Half of them want to keep fighting. The other half want to surrender completely." High Commander Kreshtak raised his hand for silence. "You ask too much. The Korthic Empire has ruled the galaxy for millennia. We will not simply disappear." "Your empire is already gone," Admiral Carter replied. "Look at the galaxy map." The screen changed to show a holographic map of the galaxy. Where once there had been hundreds of red dots showing Korthic-controlled worlds, now there were only 12. Everything else was blue or green, showing alliance worlds or independent worlds that had thrown off Korthic rule. "You control 12 worlds out of the hundreds you once ruled," Admiral Carter continued. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your bases are captured. Your slaves are free. What empire are you talking about?" High Commander Kreshtak's face showed something that might have been despair. "How did you do it? Your species was primitive. Your technology was weak. How did you defeat us so completely?" Admiral Carter looked at Captain Mitchell. He was guarding Zethkar, the alien commander who had first attacked Earth. Zethkar had been a prisoner on human ships for 6 months, watching his empire fall apart. "Zethkar," Admiral Carter said. "Explain it to them." The former hunter commander looked up at his leaders. His red eyes were dull with defeat. "They tricked us," he said quietly. "They made us think we had won when we had really lost." "But how?" Kreshtak demanded. Zethkar was quiet for a moment. Then he began to speak. "When we attacked their world, they fought just enough to look like they were trying. But they let us capture their soldiers. They let us think we were winning. And the soldiers they let us capture were all volunteers. They were trained for it. They carried biological weapons that made our crews sick. They studied our ships while pretending to be prisoners. And when the time was right, they took control of our entire fleet. Impossible. No species has ever done such a thing. No species has ever been like humans," Zethkar replied. "They think differently than we do. They plan differently. They fight differently." Admiral Carter stepped forward. "Zethkar is right. You made the same mistake that hunters always make. You assumed that because you were stronger, you would win." "We are stronger," Kreshtak insisted. "No, you're not," Admiral Carter said. "You're individually stronger. Your technology is better. Your ships are bigger. But strength isn't just about weapons and technology. Then what is it about? It's about refusing to give up. It's about turning every defeat into a victory. It's about making your enemies' strengths work against them." Dr. Adams stepped forward. "Admiral, if I may?" Admiral Carter nodded. High Commander, Dr. Adams said to Kreshtak, your empire was built on a simple idea. That strong species should rule weak species. That might makes right. That is the natural order, Kreshtak replied. But humans have shown the galaxy something different. We've shown that there's no such thing as a weak species. There are only species that haven't learned how to fight back yet. On the screen, the Korthic leaders looked at each other uncertainly. Every world you conquered is now free, Dr. Adams continued. Every species you enslaved is now fighting against you. You didn't lose because humans are stronger than you. You lost because you taught the entire galaxy to hate you. High Commander Kreshtak was silent for a long moment. Around him, the other Korthic leaders whispered among themselves. Finally, he spoke. What do you want us to do? Surrender unconditionally, Admiral Carter said. Face trial for your crimes. Help us repair the damage you've done to the galaxy. And if we refuse? Admiral Carter looked around at her crew. Humans and aliens working together. People from dozens of different worlds, all united in their desire for freedom. Then we'll finish what we started, she said. We'll take your last 12 worlds. We'll free your last slaves. And we'll make sure that no one in the galaxy ever has to fear the Korthic Empire again. The screen went dark as the Korthic leaders ended the communication to discuss among themselves. Captain Mitchell walked over to Admiral Carter. Do you think they'll surrender? They don't have much choice, she replied. Look at what we've accomplished in 6 months. Grace Kelly was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Admiral, I'm getting reports from all over. The Veltari have rebuilt their home world. The Zevkal have started their own space program. The Mordon are sending ships to help us here. How many ships do we have surrounding this station? Admiral Carter asked. Over 3,000, Captain Peterson replied from the weapons station. Ships from 47 different species. All of them want to see the end of the Korthic Empire. Dr. Adams was studying the psychological profiles of the Korthic leaders. Admiral, they're going to surrender. Their data shows complete demoralization. They know they can't win. 20 minutes later, the screen came back to life. High Commander Kreshtak looked older and more tired than before. We surrender, he said simply. Unconditionally? Admiral Carter asked. Yes, we will face your trials. We will help repair the damage we have caused. We ask only that our people be treated fairly. Admiral Carter nodded. The people of the Korthic worlds will be free to choose their own government. But the leaders of the Empire will face justice. We understand? And Kreshtak? Yes. This is the last time any species will be allowed to build an empire based on enslaving others. The Galactic Liberation Alliance will make sure of that. As the Korthic station began to power down its weapons, Admiral Carter turned to look out at the fleet surrounding them. Ships from dozens of worlds all working together, all free. 6 months ago, the Korthic had sent their elite hunters to conquer humanity. They had expected an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping in the galaxy for thousands of years. The idea that freedom was stronger than fear. The idea that no one had the right to rule over anyone else. Captain Mitchell joined her at the window. It's hard to believe it's over. It's not over, Admiral Carter replied. It's just beginning. We freed the galaxy from the Korthic, but now we have to make sure something like this never happens again. How do we do that? Admiral Carter smiled. The same way we defeated the Korthic, by working together, by refusing to give up, by remembering that any hunter can become prey if they get too confident. Zethkar, still under guard, spoke up from across the bridge. What will happen to my people now? Admiral Carter looked at the former hunter commander. They'll be free to live their lives however they choose, but they'll never again be allowed to hunt other species. And us, the commanders and leaders, you'll face trial for your crimes. Some of you will probably spend the rest of your lives in prison. But you'll be alive, which is more than you gave to many of your victims. Zethkar nodded slowly. I suppose. That is fair. Zethkar? Yes? Do you understand now why you lost? The alien was quiet for a moment. Then he said, yes. We thought strength meant taking what we wanted from others. But real strength means protecting others and helping them become strong too. Admiral Carter turned back to the window. Outside, the ships of the Galactic Liberation Alliance were already beginning to disperse. Some would return to their home worlds to help with rebuilding. Others would patrol the galaxy to make sure no new empires rose to replace the Korthik. And some, crewed by humans and their new allies, would explore the far reaches of space. They would look for other enslaved species to free. They would spread the message that had brought down the greatest empire in galactic history. The message was simple. No one has the right to rule over anyone else. Freedom is not something that can be taken away permanently. And sometimes, the most dangerous predator in the galaxy is the one that looks like prey. The Korthik had sent elite alien hunters to Earth. Humanity had replied with something they had never encountered before. The idea that everyone deserves to be free. It had been enough to change the galaxy forever.